about these things. And he intends to turn it into a Boba Vet.
No.
This day is suddenly
Not
getting
joking.
so much better. That's
that's
awesome.
amazing.
There's a chance
fantastic.
he might just fix it up so it's running and sell it for, 3 times what he paid for it. But
yeah, but Boba Vet. Oh my God.
But there might be a Boba Fett in our future. And 1980 is the year that Boba Fett made his film debut. The one we count.
The one that actually matters.
How ironic.
Yeah. I remember
Dave.
back around 1980. That's when I had a thing for the Corvette.
It's a good year.
Yeah.
It does mean I've consented to the addition of a car to our property, which I never thought would happen, but
here you are.
he's been working hard at getting rid of the others. So there you go.
Okay. Well, points for effort.
I can't tell how many people I told over text think that I was just making a joke and don't realize there's actually a 1980 Corvette outside our house.
I assumed the Corvette and the mod into the Boba Vet were absolutely serious. Did not
They are serious.
have a second of doubt.
I was just making a joke.
That's crazy.
Hey.
Sorry, I'm just social media.
I was trying to figure out the link and I'd post it somewhere, but no.
So Brittany, are you watching Bad Batch?
No, we watched I think every episode except for the last one when they were new of the first season.
Mm-hmm.
And then we realized we actually should finish watching the Disney season of Clone Wars and maybe start over again. And then we had a backlog of other stuff and it's on the list. Apparently they released this one like as a whole season.
No.
Oh, they didn't. Okay.
No, they did do something which I wasn't expecting for last week, where they released 2 episodes together.
Oh, okay.
But it was a storyline that went together. So
that makes
but they
sense.
still could have done it one across the 2 weeks, and it wouldn't have screwed up telling the story.
Are you liking it? We just barely finished Andor.
Yeah, I really do like it. And I'm a big fan of the animated Clone Wars series also, which I watch in chronological order and not in episode order, which is important because there's a lot that happens in the series where if you're watching it just in episode number order, it makes no sense.
Wait, I didn't know that any of the episodes were not in chronological order.
Oh yeah, like season 1 is especially messed up. Hold on. I'm getting a link for you right now, Brittany, because I feel like
and someday we'll talk about Apple stuff. I'm sorry.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
It's pre-show.
Yeah, Brittany, not only do I feel like it's my duty to share this with you, but as a friend, I feel like I failed you on some level by not having shared this already.
I didn't know. There's some episodes that I like better than others of Clone Wars. I mean,
yep, and that makes sense.
For me, only one Yoda exists, and it is the one in live action movies that start with numbers 4 and up.
I do enjoy Yoda in the animated Clone Wars.
Can't do it. But I care. I am very Yoda particular.
I can appreciate that. Yep. So anyhow, I just sent you a link. This is the order to watch all the episodes in. and
Okay.
and the, then the series makes sense. Then like if Yoda's just been like this rando weird green thing in the animated stuff for you, watching in the correct order will probably address a lot of that.
Okay.
Yet I still appreciate that you have your Yoda and there is no other.
I don't love the design, but also backwards talking too much he does.
He does.
There is
Yeah.
a moderate amount that is the correct amount, and he's doing the prequel amount. It's acceptable in the Legos because the Legos are parody.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
And Brittany, my personal feeling is that the absolute hands down best Star Wars lightsaber battles of the entire franchise happen in the Clone Wars animated series, and that's
Interesting.
a fight between Ahsoka Tano and Maul.
Oh. Okay. We're due for revisiting, but we're actually rewatching Mandalorian to prepare for the Mandalorian season.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's happening soon. All right.
Very
Well,
soon.
if you need a Clone Wars buddy, let me know. And
Okay.
I will actually. Here's how much I enjoyed this series. I have watched every episode. Well, there's a couple that I skip every time.
Mhm.
Multiple times I have watched this entire series, and I will go back and rewatch episodes as you and your Boba Boy watch together, and I will be happy to discuss
right.
these with you.
Oh my God, you're
All right.
funny.
All right. I
Okay,
just texted him the link.
I'm ready. The fear's ready now.
We're ready.
All right.
Oh, right.
It's this thing
Yeah.
called a podcast.
Seriously, you've been recording. You already have most of your show right here.
Yeah. Good on,
In touch
everybody.
with Star Wars.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah, and yeah, after you've watched all the Clone Wars stuff, including the most recent series, what at that point when you jump into Clone War or into Bad Batch, it doesn't matter if you jump into Bad Batch and then just start watching that, or if you watch the special shorts that they released a few months ago. And it's a collection of bits where it's like Ahsoka's origin and some early Count Dooku stuff, and anyhow, and we won't get into where Star Wars Rebels needs to fit into this.
No.
Okay. That'll be part 2.
Yeah.
Now I have a complete pre-show.
There you go. I can go on.
I know
and
you
on.
can. All right, I'm in episode 242. I'm ready to go.
You
if
might
guys
be,
are.
but we're off in
I
in
know
a
you
galaxy far, far
We're
away.
far, far away. All right. I am going to get started in 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 242 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I am so glad Brittany Smith is back on the show. How you doing, Brittany?
I'm
Welcome.
good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I always love having you on the show. We're so glad you're here. And we had a little bit of pre-show Star Wars chatter, but that's okay. That's what we do. And when there's some fun to be had before the show. And speaking of fun, Jeff Gammett's here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great. And I'm really happy to be here with both of you. And that's not just talk. I'm really happy to be here with both of you.
Very happy you are as well. This week, wow, beta dropped. As I was about ready to say 3 weeks in a row, no beta, but then the early afternoon, as we record this, Apple dropped for the 16.4. So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes here. Lots of news. Something is premiering very soon, and there's a couple shows, but one of note we'll be talking about in just one moment. And HomePod, we're going to talk a little bit about that, as well as might even sneak in some Chat GPT and some other stuff. There's always something to talk about. We're going to have some good discussion this week because I got the perfect people to talk about it. So, and what I was talking about, the show is coming out, and I can't believe it. I'm so excited. Oh my God. Apple announces the release date of Ted Lasso season 3. It's March 15th. Oh my God. I'm excited as all heck. And I think a lot of us are. And it is going to return March 15th. You will see AFC Richmond take on West Ham United in the league and a coach face off of Ted and Nate. Can't wait. It's they have a teaser trailer. It's out now. And 12 episodes, just like season 2 was. And will it come back or will it not come back? We don't know, but let's focus on the show. You like Ted Lasso? I assume you do.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're also going to have to now rewatch that
season
to
1
lead up
season
to
2.
it.
Yeah. Just
so
get it back fresh in our minds.
We've been debating. So I'm in a family share plan with my parents and my husband, and mostly because I wanted them to use my paid apps and not cheap crap with ads. And and we've been debating back and forth. Okay, so do we cancel the Apple TV or are we going to keep it? And we were going to cancel it for like several months, then we didn't. And my mom started watching some stuff again. So we haven't canceled it. And I guess we're going to wait like, 3 more months? And then we'll cancel it.
Well, get shrinking in on that too, because that's another great show that just came out with Harrison Ford and Jason Segel.
Yeah, and then there's that show that's coming up very soon with what is it, Billy Crop?
Oh yeah, what was the name of it? Yes, I know what you're talking about. It looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
I have to look that up. But
wait,
yes,
there's a new season of Ted Lasso coming.
Oh, that thing too.
Huh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's yeah, it's exciting. But with Ted Lasso, it's going to go through the 31st of May, and it's going to just squeak in on the Emmys, so they won't miss it out. So they can be eligible for that too. So we're just going to go assume that they'll be Emmy award winning for another year. But yeah, I think everybody's going to be talking about it like crazy. We'll have to have Kelly on a couple times. She's going to be. Who knows if she brings back the Ted Lasso podcast, and there's going to be all kinds of fun stuff for the next couple months here.
All right, so Kelly and Ted Lasso. Yes. The other day, I sent her a link to the T-shirt that has the barbecue place on it, and Kelly responds back immediately with a link for the guy that invented the T-shirt. I'm like, seriously, there's no way I can come up with anything Ted Lasso that she doesn't already have.
She probably has it all. So yeah, we love you, Kelly. I just want to mention in the chat here that at youtube.com/intouchwithios, great to see Paul, great to see Ben. Looks like Guy's in there, Mr. Verchark, and they're talking a little bit about Ted Lasso. And a guy says, "Is Ted Lasso the new cowboy show?" Okay. And
Guy, seriously, these jokes. Do you want to go wait in the car? Because I'll make you wait in the car.
Yeah. And Ben says Kelly knows all. So thanks for being in the chat. I'm glad everybody's here. Let's go on and move on to the next story for this week. There was a big, huge 1Password update this last week. Actually, this just was announced yesterday. 1Password is out with a major update for iOS and Mac and Android and PC and Linux too, since it does everything now. The new release brought over 100 new features, improvements, bug fixes, and the ability to reorder fields, sections, inside items. Oh my God, that's going to be great. Keyboard shortcuts, improved search, continuity, and handoff support for Apple devices. And we could just go on with all the different things at the full release notes. They fixed and improved the Face ID, and some tapping a field will now copy the field details to your clipboard. So it just goes on and on. I know, Jeff, have you been playing with the new update and anything that's of note that you're enjoying?
I've installed the update and I'm using it, but I've been busy enough. I haven't had a chance to start playing with the new things. But the whole thing with everything they dropped into this update to me that this is a really, really great example of
Yeah.
how a company that switches to a subscription model does it right. And I think in this case, it's showing how that improved income stream is paying off for everyone. And yes, a lot of this is at the corporate level, big companies that are using 1Password, but this
Yeah.
is what happens when it's done right, and we get
Exactly.
Didn't they also do a giant investing round? Am I getting them mixed up with somebody else?
There's VC that ended
Okay.
up, and
Yeah.
was it like a year or two ago? I can't remember when.
Well, ever since they switched over to Electron, the platform, and now they're platform agnostic, so now they can be on basically anything. I think that's what attracted the VCs and wanted to get. I mean, that's really what they had to do. They had to get that to get more investors into the product, and especially with the whole LastPass debacle, I can't imagine that didn't help 1Password much at all. But, yeah, of course it did.
I was gonna say, I think the last time I was on was right after the LastPass breach.
Yeah.
So
So
keeps
I mean,
coming up.
you're using 1Password, right, Britt?
So I have a very old version of 1Password, and I've
Oh,
been
that's
mostly
right.
on Keychain, but I've been saying this for a few months. Any minute
fine.
now, I'm going to expand in the ways I've been intending to, and I will
Yeah.
need to. I'll just need
You
to get a
should.
business account for 1Password because
Yeah.
LastPass is probably not going to be where I'm going now.
No.
That
Yeah, I
seems
think
totally reasonable and plausible.
seems. So yeah, check the show notes. We got the article link on 9to5Mac. It's going through the whole list of all the great enhancements and updates and features. 100 of them. So but
I'm
we
very
look-
much looking forward to diving in and
Yep.
taking advantage of at least a few of the new features.
Let's hope. Next story is about the USB-C rumors and iPhone 15. There was also a rumor that actually showed they say a literal, it's the actual iPhone 15, but I didn't talk about that this week. More so that the reporting of Apple is planning to limit iPhone 15's USB-C to the speeds of Lightning. The company charging cables will feature a Lightning-like authenticator chip, potentially limiting their functionality with Apple unapproved accessories. Which there's a rumor about that. I would not be at all surprised if something like this Apple does this, because they've done it. They've done it plenty of times before. They want it to be the certified accessories, the genuine peripherals, like we always promote here, because you get by those dime 5 and dime cords that are sitting at the checkout at Walgreens, and I just think I saw them the other day. I'm like, oh my god, don't ever buy those. Yeah, it's $5, but it's who knows? There could be some malware in the cable, right? What do you
Or
think?
it doesn't manage voltage correctly,
Yeah, that too.
and screws up the battery or overheats. Yeah, I mean, I'm just jumping in. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Apple doing this is seems completely plausible to me. And while I do see a lot of people potentially saying, "Oh, look, this is just Apple being spiteful and complying with nothing more than the letter of the law," and still finding a way to make it all about you have to have just Apple stuff. Sure, maybe. I'm looking at it more like Apple is aware of the $5 cables at the checkout stand,
Right.
and if an iPhone catches on fire and someone's using a crapo cable, it's much easier for Apple to say the iPhone is a safe device. It's not like a Samsung phone that's going to explode in your pocket. And look, if they had been using a cable that is certified to be safe, this would not have happened.
Yep. What do you think, Britt?
My issue right now that I have sometimes is when I have a cable that is certified and it tells me it's not and refuses to work, which happens not infrequently. My other concern is we already have a gigantic, confusing landscape of USB-C and what does what. And if they do that, they need some mandatory big old label on it that says this is the iPhone one, because I could see a lot of frustration coming out of that. I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
have a bunch of Anchor USB-C to USB-C cables. They predate it.
Like this one.
Right.
Then this is the USB-A. Because my wife had one at her bedside and says it will stop working. So the first thing I want to check, okay, you get this cable. Let's make sure it's certified because I like these kind of cables because they have they're kind of fun but yeah, you're right. The USB-C, the USB to Lightning. You never know sometimes with those cables, and people love these.
But I have
cables
ones
too.
that are from Anchor. I trust it to not catch fire. Right.
Yes.
Whatever we like that their other products have done lately, like I trust that cable to not catch fire. But if those cables all predate the certification program, does that mean I can't use them? And so now I have to remember.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Right. Is this the one I can use or is this the one I can't use? So also having a big label, but also like, what about the one I've been using on my iPad for 2 years? Can I not use that on my phone?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I like to tell people don't buy those drugstore those
don't
cables,
do that.
Please,
yes,
please don't. I thought I had kind of fun. Justine, everybody knows her as the social media influencer, Apple loving of Apple, all Apple. She came out with her line of cables. They're all pink and they're kind of cute. And so I went on Twitter. I said, Are these certified? Because I didn't see anything mention of it. So she's, oh yes, these are certified. And I figured there were with anything with Justine. She's gonna make sure they're certified. So I mean, those are kind of cables you kind of wonder, okay, am I really gonna want to buy those or not? But they have to be. So, but yeah, just make sure your cables are certified. That they have the label right on there. It says made for iPhone and iPod. They even have that same logo. And
does it say it on the cable?
Usually doesn't. No, that's the bad part.
See, I needed to say it on the cable itself.
Yes.
It's sitting next to my other USB-C that's not. And then it's also sitting by my Thunderbolt. Like, which one am I using for what? And I'm concerned.
Yeah, it usually doesn't. So, all right. Next story, Plex. I've been a big Plex user. Plex has launched a new feature for skipping TV show and movie credits, which is available on the Apple TV and iOS. Plex is out with that new feature. Will actually easily skip the ending credits for any TV show or movie called Credits Detection. That is designed to let you quickly move on to the next episode of a TV show or find post-credit content. And the article goes through and how do you actually go through this, and you have to scan through it. So just like having commercial skipping, which I think everybody loves and wants, this is another thing that Plex decided to add. Boy, I'm really seeing a lot of upgrading and adding of new things. Discovery is a new thing that Plex has now, and Plex is really a big player in the streaming wars, and they've added some more channels, and it's really interesting to see where they're going to go. And I'm a lifetime subscriber, so I've got the Plex server like many of us do, and yeah, it's exciting to see where they're going with this and what more features they add. What do you think, Brittany?
I mean, I have to put the thing out there as a person who's had an incredibly minuscule number of times I looked for my name on a credit. Like, I do have to put the plug in, like, they do deserve the credit. But I have also sat there for, I don't know, 10 solid minutes at the end of Andor thinking, when are you going to autoplay the next one? So I see both sides of it.
Yep. Yeah. So it's definitely good. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah. First, the credits thing. Brittany, I am with you. I watch the credits. However, the whole thing with we've gone through the credits and now we get credits for translations for 7 more countries. Okay, I don't need to sit through that part. So at that point, I'm ready to jump ahead.
In those countries, they showed up, right? Like, could you show up specifically in the country that you apply to? Thanks.
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
this
mean,
is the French version show up in those. Well, I guess that would be on ours too. But like, this is the um Russian one. No, no. This is
the Japanese version.
Italian, Japanese. Yeah, those are great.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
examples.
Yeah. Um,
So
anyhow, Plex, I think, is being incredibly savvy with
they are.
with the things they're doing. Th-
Take some smarts.
yeah, they're positioning themselves to be the go-to for your personal content and streaming content.
But then they
Yep.
could have easily said, "Hey, we're your collection of stuff." I don't know. I don't know if this will add significantly to their user base, but it sure is a great like quality of life feature for the user base.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so it's cool to see developers who care about a thing adding to it when one of those features alone may not add significantly to their bottom line.
Yeah, I talked to the guys when they were at CES, and the discovery feature was also another cool thing, that you'd be able to discover different shows and a lot of their live content that they're currently streaming. So no, it's exciting because they were kind of flat for a while. I mean, I love having Plex server and playing around with that and having all my movies and TV shows and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. So. Next story here, Goldman Sachs move casts shadow over Apple savings accounts. Apple was announcing for a planning of a savings program that it's going to link, especially with 16.4 coming out potentially, but it could be jeopardized with Goldman Sachs is reportedly dropping its consumer credit card efforts outside of Apple Card. They wanted CEO said that he wants the bank to increase its efforts in developing financial services for consumers. They were big with the Marcus savings account, Marcus loans. I use their services, and I thought they were very good. But it seems like they're not doing so well. They did post that big loss, which I think you kind of wonder, is that a big loss? Was that really a legitimately big loss? But the Apple Card is doing very well, and but everybody's itching to get this pay later as well as the savings account, and I think it's going to be kind of easy to do it because it's so easy to use your Apple Card now and paying things off and right in the wallet. I'm just curious to see where this is going to go. What's happening with Goldman Sachs? What do you think, Jeff?
I think it's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah,
and
it is.
Okay, so when I'm watching stuff about, and Apple's going to do this thing that goes into the financial space, and then there's something else about, well, this part is now delayed, and people are like, well, Apple screwed it up, or whatever it is that they're saying. No, this is a space where, from a business standpoint, it's very easy for Apple to want to be in those markets, but there's a lot of other regulatory stuff that goes along with it, and so yeah, we'll end up seeing delays. We'll end up seeing stuff that they're planning on that ends up having to change because it turns out that working through the rest of the regulatory stuff, or the partners they're working with, are suddenly not going to do it because it's not a viable market. Okay, it's fine. So yeah, maybe we won't see the Apple savings account thing.
I don't know that I feel like the article was reachy. Like, just because Goldman Sachs decided they're not doing something in a consumer service doesn't mean they're not going to do one with Apple. Like,
and that's a really good point.
I really good.
I mean, those of us who remember can be surprised they're still in business at all. And they really need this relationship with Apple to work. And so I think they're going to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they are. The savings account's going to come out, and it definitely the Apple Card continues to evolve. I mean,
beta that just came out today, like,
right? Yes.
I mean, yeah, things can be removed from a beta. We've all seen it happen, but
Yeah.
So I'm in the camp of it may be delayed a little bit longer than Apple would like.
It's the financial industry itself that's what causes that.
But it's going to come.
Yeah. So, let's move on. Next story. I actually got this surprising email today from Paramount Plus. I'm a Paramount Plus Showtime bundle subscriber, and they are lowering the price of the bundle. I was paying $14.99 a month, but you pay for the whole year, so you get a much better deal. They're lowering it down to $11.99 because they are working on doing kind of the bundle merger where they're going to rename it, and Showtime is going to be just basically be absorbed as part of the Paramount Plus. I forgot what they're going to call it, but it's for Showtime, and just like a lot of other streaming services, they're kind of merging and going through that. We talked about last week with HBO and Discovery Plus. They decided not to do it. Well, Paramount Plus and Showtime are going to do it, and I would have this feeling that it'll have the prominent name of Showtime, since Showtime's been around for a long time. It's a good service, and the app is actually pretty decent. And those of us who have Paramount Plus, we're watching Star Trek, which Picard's coming soon.
I got up early to watch it.
Oh, did you go to the?
No, it dropped today. The first episode.
Today? Oh my God, I even missed that.
I set an alarm so I could get up early this morning and watch it before
I'm watching after the show
and stuff.
I've been itching to watch that. Oh my God! So this is good news, and for us who like watching Star Trek, even more. So, Brittany, you subscribe to any of these services?
Not the Paramount one, although I do have access to the Paramount one. I actually forgot about it till just now. So my friend wants me to get caught up on all the Star Trek shows. We did watch a season and change of Picard when he was visiting. But yeah, it's we've between pre-show and this, we've discussed a lot of things on my watching queue.
Yeah,
and I don't watch things very fast.
Yes. So,
but yeah, the only reason I probably would be for the Star Trek content.
Star Trek, absolutely.
Yeah.
A couple more stories here. T-Mobile is always known. And you guys are not big sports fans, but as everybody knows, Apple did sign a 10-year agreement with the Major League Soccer, and they have the MLS season pass, and it's usually $14.99 a month, or $99 for the season, or if you bought the whole season at a discount rate for $79. But if you're a T-Mobile customer, you now can in their T-Mobile Tuesdays app, which I always have fun getting free stuff. Well, this is really cool. The offer can now be redeemed on coming up a week from this coming Tuesday, as we record this. That you'll be able to get a free season subscription pass from T-Mobile, and you'll be able to watch the soccer if you so choose, or football, as our friends in the UK call it. But they also do Major League Baseball too, so it's kind of fun to see that T-Mobile has been partnering up with Apple with this kind of stuff, as well as Major League Baseball and others. So now, Jeff, you're not a spectator sport fan, but I like to see how this is going with these sports services. There are another rumor too of NBA basketball. So Apple really is getting high end services.
I don't have to be a spectator sport fan to appreciate the value in having the big name sports available through Apple TV Plus. That's a big thing.
It's must be the office manager.
My office. Okay. Here's how brilliant my office manager is. So here's the store right here, and she's been batting at it, wanting to get in. Now, just off camera right here is the door that's open, so she can come and go as she pleases. And she knows the door is there and it's always open. And yet, bless her little cat heart.
What do you think, Brittany? Oh, you're muted, Brittany. She's still muted.
I think the baseball strategy was brilliant. because
Okay.
it got a lot of people to look it up that had never looked it up before. Hey, it's free. You just have to actually figure the thing out. And so there was incentive to figure out how to use a streaming service when they didn't know already. I thought that was really clever. I don't watch it, but I think it's clever.
Sure. No, I think it's smart. Pretty much all we could say about that. Lastly, I thought this is a good discussion, a brief discussion here. Apple reveals iOS 16 and iPad OS 16 usage stats for the first time. This is the first time since iOS 16, iPad OS 16 was released last fall. Apple has shared data on adoption rates for these updates. Apple says that 81% of all iPhones introduced in the past 4 years are now running iOS 16. Wow, that's phenomenal. And 72% of all iPhones, was it? I think what it said. It said introduced in the last 4 years are now running iOS 16. So they have it broken down here as far as 81%, 15% on iOS 15. There's still 4% left on anything earlier. And iPad is at 53%. So these are interesting. These are interesting data. This is interesting data, and actually, for the first time, it's legitimate data. That we aren't having analysts looking at these numbers, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
They've said it in like at a event before, but publishing is different than like, hey, here's the numbers we want you to know.
Yeah, and these numbers aren't vague, and sometimes in presentations they won't give you all the numbers. They give you just enough information. Yeah, they use the Jedi mind trick on you.
Jedi mind.
Yeah,
these are the numbers that you're impressed by.
These are the numbers I'm impressed by. Oh my God, it works. Yeah, I like seeing Apple do this, and of course they're not going to do it if they feel the numbers are bad.
Yeah, for sure. So
I was gonna say I'm surprised that as many people that there aren't more updated, but I know a whole bunch of people that can update that haven't, or that have phones that can't update because you know what? Apple's chips are real good. And I know a bunch of people running 7s as their daily phone and they can't get iOS 16. And it just means I have to remember who I can actually edit text to or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The thing is, though, Apple makes hardware that's so good that iPhone 7, even though it can't run iOS 16, it's still a really good phone.
For the amount my mother-in-law uses it, like she doesn't do fancy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And besides, I gave her my old Apple Watch and now she's using that half the time.
There you go.
She's doing great.
My mom's on an iPhone 7 and she is upgrading to a 14 any day now, like literally any day now.
Oh, wow.
And for her, the reason she's going to the 14, there's two reasons. And a maniacal devotion to the Pope. No, the first is because she wants the better cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is she wants to replace her Apple Watch Series 1. And if she's going to get a Series 8, well, she needs an iPhone that can run iOS 16. And
which is why I gave her my 4.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law.
and my dad has my 4 already. Mm-hmm. So for mom, she wanted a new phone anyhow, and she came up with 2 legit reasons. She does. Yeah. So she's getting her new phone, and my dad is just waiting for that other shoe to drop, which is the one where she says, "Well, now that I have my phone, I seriously, Kat."
Watching her.
I was just watching her hit the knob.
she knows what the doorknob is, and she's been able to get a couple of the closets open before, so she'll work at it. Anyhow, so cut to the chase. My dad knows that he's about to buy my mom an Apple Watch Series 8 too.
That's great. So let's go ahead and move on for the topics for this week. We got some pretty important updates that need to be run. Everybody who doesn't work on beta, you should have by now installed 16.3.1. That does include some pretty serious security updates. And in fact, I mean, even on Mac OS and Ventura 13.2.1, they were pretty much forcing it installed because there was some active exploits and vulnerabilities on all the platforms. So the PSA, please make sure all your devices are up to date. 13.2.1 on Mac OS Ventura and iPad OS, iOS 16.3.1. And be sure those are,
Updating my non-beta iPad now.
yes, make sure that's done.
Excellent.
I don't remember to update my iPad very much.
Well,
Watch
based
OS
on the stats in the article Dave was talking about a minute ago, you're not alone. Most
Yeah.
people seem to
Apparently.
forget to update their iPads.
They do.
I have a good reason though. My iPad was never on 15.
I went from 14 to 16.
Went from 14 to 16
Wow.
because it sucked to edit and make shortcuts so much. Like when they first moved to the Swift UI thing, and I needed a device that didn't suck to make shortcuts on. And so anything I had to do with the new one would happen on my phone, and then once 16 was fine, so I just updated to 16. So
yeah,
I have a good reason, but I don't know about everybody else.
Well, now you're doing it.
Yes.
Watch OS 9.3.1 is out. tvOS 16.3.1, I think, actually 16.3.2. HomePod OS got 16.3.2, and we know that HomePods are still not working the greatest, right, Jeff?
Right. Okay.
I can't even tell when my HomePod's updating or not.
Yeah, no one can.
I manually do the updates, and that whole process has gotten janky because it doesn't tell me it's updating the HomePod minis, just the HomePod. And I have to check later and figure out if the HomePod minis actually got updated. Anyhow, I have no problem bagging on HomePod OS with the 16.3.2 update. However, I have to give Apple some credit here because they fixed a lot, and Siri on the HomePod is so much more reliable for me than it's ever been since the HomePod was released. The exception is, because there's always an exception, Siri shortcuts on the HomePod, it's still a total crapshoot if it's going to do those.
Yeah. But still make sure you update those and get those taken care of. Little did we know, as we record this today, iOS 16.4 beta 1 was released to developers, and it was great to see that they decided to do that. And there is a lot of things that were added to it. We know how important it is to get new emoji characters, and there's 15
Crucial.
of them. Yeah, it's very crucial. They did add Safari Web push notifications for both iPhone and iPad. That's new, and many others. And then adding to the home screen for third-party browsers, so Chrome could be on there or Edge if you so choose. The HomeKit architecture, finally, you're going to be able to upgrade and bring it back after all that time. The podcast app has got some love with channels access available in the library section up next now, resume episodes, so that they are doing some improvements. The Apple Music app has some prominent button for accessing your profile, which is good. Apple Care coverage overview, and actually you go through your list of devices, it actually tells you, is it covered or is it not, and gives you that information. Shortcuts, I knew Brittany would like this because you said you just got it installed today. There are options in shortcuts that create workflows that lock the device's screen and control the always-on display, but there's also an option to automatically enable or disable Stage Manager on the iPad, as well as Apple has added some options to have Siri announce notifications that an action that can be incorporated into a shortcut. So here's another good one, because you guys just did your episode. I'll give a plug for you and Eric on Mac Voices that you just talked about Mastodon clients.
Yes.
Go check that out. content previews for Mastodon in messages. When you send a link to a Mastodon post to someone in the Messages app, it now displays the preview of the content that was shared rather than simply a link or a link with an image.
That's a pretty big endorsement for Mastodon right
that
there.
really tells you that Apple is like, they're probably fed up with Twitter, really, is probably what it is. Where that just kind of shows you where things are going with this. So, but there's, tons more stuff that I can go on, but they've done some really good, nice enhancements in here. One of the other interesting things they did with beta in itself, especially if you're a developer, one change that Apple is making developer beta installation easier for registered developers and harder for those who are not.
Yeah. This is going to be interesting in June.
I like to see where this goes.
Yeah.
With WWDC. So
lots of people will use their friends' developer accounts to get
Right.
the profile and install it on their. Yeah.
The cool thing is that's always been the tough thing to deal with, is having to go every time you had to go get that profile and download it whenever it would change. But registered developers will have the option to enable the developer betas directly in settings because it's registered to your Apple ID. So as long as you're signed into the same Apple ID that's your beta account.
It doesn't mean you don't have to be a developer, but your account has to be associated with a developer account.
With a developer account, right.
I have a test from Argyle, my brother's company. And so because I helped him test his fancy AR app, then I can install the developer betas on my phone. And
Yeah,
also he's a nice brother.
He is.
So I have a company phone-ish, except I bought it.
Ish.
I like that.
Well, if it were going to be a company phone, he would have made me get a Pro because they've got the lasery thing.
Yes,
for
they do have
distance
the
measure.
lasery thing. Yeah.
What is the
Lasery.
word? It is not coming
LiDAR.
to my. Thank you. That's the one. LiDAR.
But you know what? Lasery thing is now part of my lexicon. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to put that in there.
I feel like that one's better.
But so what features does your iPhone have? The lasery thing. Ooh.
Ooh, that's nice. WatchOS 9.4 is out. As always, nothing to really report or talk about. tvOS 16.4, same thing. Nothing to really talk about. But those are out. Make sure if you're a developer to go check those out. And they've also added to I did talk about the podcast app. Some more features for CarPlay, which is great. That'll give you some enhancements because I've always found that the CarPlay in the podcast app has always been kind of cumbersome trying to navigate. That's probably why I use Pocket Casts. Is my favorite. But it's
there was one more I thought was interesting, which was push notifications. If you said it, I was spaced out. Oh, okay.
The web push
from web apps.
Yep. Yeah. What did you think?
And okay. I have never found a website I wanted a notification from. But I can imagine the situation where one would. If your task manager was based in that and you didn't want the app on your phone or couldn't have it on your phone because it's a company phone. Like there's a few scenarios where it could exist. Anyway, I thought it was interesting. If I start getting companies constantly asking me to do that, then I'd get real cranky. But it looks like it's only for ones that you've installed onto your home screen. So
yeah, right.
I'm not totally sure yet because again, I installed the beta like an hour before we got on here.
We all have had much of it as middle of any time with it because it just dropped. I think
it's interesting.
Literally 4 or 5 hours ago. So
and that they can be included in focus modes. So yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
And like you, and the last thing about iOS 16.4 beta is, like you mentioned, Brittany, is that it does lay the groundwork for Apple Cash high yield savings account. So you do see it in there. So they're doing it. It wouldn't be in there if they weren't. But who knows? They could change, but I don't see it. I mean, Apple is all in. Services is just too important at this point in the game here. So. So we'll see how it goes. We talk about beta every week and see how things are, and then we get to play with them, and then of course never put beta on your primary phone. I have to keep telling people that. Never do that. Never, never, never.
No betas on mission critical devices.
Nope, no.
Oh, that's
I
the
got
other
it on-
reason it's not usually on my iPad.
Right. I got this on my 10R as my camera. That's 16.4, and I got my iPad Pro 12.9 inch sporting 16.4. So those are sufficient. Keep the other ones on the stable version. So it happened last week, but 5 years ago, the HomePod was launched. And it was 5 years ago on February 9th, 2018. And I can't believe it's been that long. I mean, I remember when probably go back and listen to my previous podcast. So when I kind of the same thing I did when I bought the iPhone 8 and I said, I'm not going to upgrade to the iPhone 10. And I did anyway, and bought which the 8 and the 10 came out within 2 months of each other. You heard back then past episodes too. So yeah, I did buy them and then I returned them and I said, no, I really like them. The price is better. And then now I have both my paired first gen HomePods, but it was a cool thing. And I remember Phil Schiller was on stage at the time and said it was a magical new music experience from Apple. So it did get reviews for its sound quality, but of course everybody's saying it was limited and a lot of things that weren't too exciting. But what did you think, Jeff? You have a HomePod, right? You bought the first. Did you buy the first gen?
Yep, I did. Bought it. I guess we could do a pre-order on it. It was 5 years ago.
I did
so
too.
It's hard for me to remember. Yeah, so I pre-ordered that HomePod, and that's the one that got its software update. Was it yesterday, today, whenever the update came out?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. Yes, it's limited. Yes, I have all these frustrations with Siri on the HomePod. If someone had a really, really sweet deal on a used original HomePod, I would consider getting one just to have a stereo pair.
Yep. They're not.
But yeah, no one wants to get rid of their OG HomePods. And honestly, I'm not that interested in getting the second gen HomePod. That if I get more, it'll just be minis probably, or a sweet deal on an OG.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it has been a fantastic streaming music device for me.
I like it. I like it a lot too.
Even as a single HomePod, not a stereo pair, I play music on that thing every single day, a lot, and I appreciate the stuff it does well.
Yep. You don't have a HomePod, Brittany, do you?
I have one mini, and I
mini.
confess its main job is to be my smart home hub.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the most cost-effective way to do it. Good for you.
But
I've got
because
4
here's
of
the thing,
them.
I listen to a lot of podcasts and I use Overcast, and it's annoying to send anything anywhere. In fact, I don't even know if you can still. You couldn't at one point. And yeah, it's not easy. Whereas the music, it's a lot easier. So I try to remember to do it when I'm listening to music, but sometimes I don't because the podcasts are what I listen to more, and they're so difficult and cumbersome.
Yeah. But no, I'm with Jeff. I'm gonna keep these OG HomePods. I'm happy with them. They step above me here, and I use them to watch TV, listen to the sound. I get the amazing sound from the Apple TV, and I'm supporting the Apple TV and everything here and on this TV now. Even my cable TV I still have. I'm streaming it through there, and I've gotten really used to it. I'm really happy that I did that. Got rid of their box, and I don't have to have the Comcast's $10 a month box to do it through their Stream app. So
the other thing is it's in one room.
Yeah.
And I work in different rooms all the time.
Right.
And so I just have never built a habit, and I'd have to buy a bunch more or restrict my working area, which might happen at some point, to get into the habit.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
I have one in the living room, one in the bedroom.
I have a floor layout in my place that allows me to have the HomePod in the living room, and it can be heard from basically everywhere.
Right.
but then I have a set of minis in the bedroom, so I have stereo in there. As far away from the OG HomePod as it can possibly be. So my whole place is covered with basically a couple of HomePods.
You're set.
I'm set. Yeah.
You are
But I
set.
totally get why it would be hard to develop a habit of using the mini for anything other than a HomeKit hub, because it's not, you need to have that ubiquitous access.
I got it too. I also have the Sonos Move as my other speaker, which is an awesome device too, and I got that as a nice gift.
Do you have a workflow? So like, how do you decide when you're going to use what?
Well, the good thing is, especially in iTunes, you can go in and you actually compare them in iTunes. So you go in and I can check off Sonos Move, and then I can check off the Apple the HomePods, and be able to play them. It's kind of fun because I have the two HomePods above me right here. Well, actually, one down there, one up here, and then the Move is down below me. But I can. The cool thing about the Move is it's portable as it's battery. I just pick it up and put it in another spot, and then and then you can raise the volume on the Move, and then you get some really heavy bass and a fun sound. But then you have the HomePods are supporting those too. But I didn't buy the Move, so I got it as a gift. I got it as a as a work gift for my 20-year anniversary. So that was very nice of them. So I didn't pass it up.
What I do is I'll say like, hey, S lady, play John Williams' greatest hits everywhere, and then it just turns on all my HomePods.
Oh.
Or I'll say, hey Siri, play. Hey Siri, stop. Hey S lady, play Star Wars, and
Always
in the living room, and then it's just the one HomePod.
Okay.
Works. And then just to touch on the second gen HomePod, it's getting mixed reviews. I mean, I'm not surprised. A lot of people like it's gonna be pretty hard. I'd be curious to know how the sales have been for the second gen HomePod. I can't get out of my mind the fact that it's so much. I'm so thrilled the fact that you can actually unplug the plug from the back of the HomePod, and it actually. Because I'm looking at that plug up there right now. I was like, God, that annoys me. That thing sits there. I can't pull that thing out without trashing it. But you know, I have a link in the show notes for the article about iFixit tearing it down today, and it was interesting to see that it's a little more repairable because they used a lot less adhesive, and you didn't have to cut into it and to get it opened up. There was no major support. There were no major surprises. You know, it's got the S7 processor, which is an Apple Watch processor. LEDs that show through the display at the top, which are kind of fun. You know, I was looking at that because I did go to the Apple store and took it, checked it out, and then of course having the temperature and sensors that are in that new one. The good thing is the HomePod Mini has those. So and I haven't had time to play with that yet, but.
The weird thing is, if at some point I actually can build the house we're trying to build, that regulations are getting in the way of, I could see me getting more for the temperature in each room. Like from the home automation standpoint, could be what did it. And then once it is everywhere, now I can get into the habit easier of saying, hey, S, let's play this here or there. Yeah. Because at the moment, if I say it at home, which is not here, it just goes out of my phone, which is sort of annoying.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So I still like HomePod. I'm happy with it, and it sounds like everybody else here on the panel is as well. And it just, if you already have the OG HomePod, there's probably no rhyme or reason to upgrade. I mean,
I agree completely.
I didn't do it.
Just if they're breaking, but if yours hasn't, congratulations.
Yeah, no, they're still going. And I'm one, you know, as you guys know me, I do tend to upgrade pretty quickly, and I shouldn't, but I do.
Dave, I have a hot take on buying HomePods.
Yep.
Unless you have a very compelling reason why you need a big HomePod, buy a HomePod Mini.
Yeah. I mean,
Just
when they're on sale,
don't
$80.
spend the money on the big one.
Do
Unless
the minis go on sale? Is that a
minis
thing?
go on sale. Yeah.
Yeah, Christmas time they did.
And I think it's Costco oftentimes has
Yeah.
has the mini for $79.
Yeah, there you go. It's a steal.
Keep my eye out.
All right, let's move on to the discussion, and I wanted to talk a little bit about Chat GPT. It did get announced. It was back in February 9th when Microsoft went all in with their AI boosted search with the Bing browser, which I can't believe I'm even saying Bing. And
When was Bing last relevant, like
Yeah,
to
now
discuss
all of a sudden
actively?
it
And now
is.
it's hilarious.
The
Yeah.
last time Bing was relevant to seriously discuss was before it was launched, when we were talking about Microsoft was potentially getting into the space and what would it mean for Google. And then it happened, and we saw what
Nothing.
relevance it didn't have. And there you go.
Yep. So what's been your thoughts of the Chat GPT? We were talking about it on Mac Voices Live, and it was
I'm so
it was very
sad I
impressive.
missed that.
Yeah, I was putting in like the show notes, and it was coming in. I was loving it. It was talking about me, and it just pulled all the information from my podcast and my bio, and I was like, wow, I didn't have to write this. I could create a whole new resume with this. So it's absolutely amazing. I'm just using the Chat GPT, the beta version of it. So but
I am obsessed with actual Chat GPT.
you are okay.
No joke. Like, oh yes, this is very serious. So for years, I have been wanting a developer to use GPT to allow people to put in, because writing resumes and cover letters, I feel like this is the thing that sucks for everyone. But with ADHD, it's super nova sucks to do that.
Mhm.
Because you bring in like extra imposter syndrome, you bring in extra like sense of rejection, and then also it's super boring. And so what I wanted was somebody to be able to like give a bullet list and pop it out. And it turns out I just had to wait a little while, and then there'd be this generic tool that could also write my Apple script for me. And I've been using it mostly for video descriptions, but like taking my video outlines and then saying, hey, could you make the video description for YouTube from it? I could do things like say, hey, could you give it a lighter tone? Oh, hey, could you now out a Star Wars reference? And they were valid Star Wars references. Like, and then later in the chat, I'm not even asking it. I'm asking it to do something else give me ideas about things. And one of them was Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, I am enamored of it. I've been plugging in a bunch of stuff for the ADHD Guild so it can pop out descriptions and things. Like, I'm having a great time.
Yeah. And you can even use it. Oh, good.
Brittany, I'm actually really, really happy to hear you saying this, because you're a great use case for how ChatGPT can be a valid and useful tool. Whereas we're seeing so much of people putting in stuff where it doesn't have the tight parameters that you're providing. And when you have those really tight parameters, you tend to get the kinds of results that you need. Whereas for something else, like me telling it to write a bio for me, and it spits out something that sounds really good and is almost completely wrong.
Yeah.
And never use it as like, it's always a first draft, right? But for me, the first draft is killer. Like, as in, I never want to do it, so I put off the thing forever. And so having the thing that could like, don't submit that first draft as to get a job of a resume or cover letter, but like use it and update it to make it sound like you.
Right.
It's great.
Oh, I agree.
What I really like about ChatGPT is it shows the potential for where we can go with this type of technology. It's not something that I feel comfortable telling the general public to go use, because it's going to give us the kind of results that we're seeing where we get the news articles, where it's doing
from people who should know better.
Yeah. But
did you see the stuff. Sorry, when we're done with regular Chat GPT, I want to get back to the Microsoft.
Oh, right. Like the stuff that Bing and
Sounds like a
ChatGPT.
dystopian nightmare.
Yes.
Robots take when the Bing search specifically has had errors, it has been hilarious,
Yeah, they're pretty epic.
terrifying, and hilarious.
And you'd think Microsoft would have learned from when they did that chatbot thing a couple years ago that very quickly became horrible racist.
I forgot that was Microsoft.
That was Microsoft. Yeah, you
Ah.
think they would have taken what came out of that and figured out a way to create a framework to keep.
And I'm actually interested in what things they've put into the Chat GPT because I know they did some things to try to avoid that. But sorry, you were talking, and I'm just very excited, Jeff.
No, it's okay because we're both very excited. So
we all are here. That's why I thought this was a good topic for us.
Yeah. Anyhow, it's like someone at Microsoft thought, okay, if this were a bowling alley, because I'm building a really bad analogy here, let's get those bumper things that go in the gutters so we can keep the ball on the lane and have a higher likelihood of hitting the pins. And they went out and got those things. And
then the bumper started yelling at people.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Or they put them on the wrong lane and now they're not sure why this thing keeps spitting out toxic gutter balls.
But to Microsoft's credit, they released a statement saying, hey, this is what we are actively learning about and like are being transparent, which I think is really cool. And saying, hey, like we didn't expect y'all to talk for 2 hours to the same chat thing. And here's what we think is happening, but we don't know because that's how machine learning works. You don't know.
Yeah. I think Microsoft was also doing a flex with this.
Oh yeah.
Which pushed Google to do their Bard announcement. I don't think Google had any plans of talking or doing a big Bard demo like they did, and it didn't play out the way they wanted because it had info that was wrong. On the other hand, Bing with ChatGPT offers up info that's wrong, and it goes neurotic on you. And at least Bard isn't doing that. So,
yeah,
baby steps.
But neurotic.
The one other thing
Bard isn't. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, Bard's not neurotic. ChatGPT with Bing, that needs some therapy.
One other thing I wanted to mention is I have an article in the show notes. How you can use ChatGPT with your iPhone and your Apple Watch. And that does require you to sign up with the OpenAI website, and you sign up with that, and you actually can set up a shortcut for your on your iPhone, and you can create that shortcut to access the bot on your iPhone or your Apple Watch, or even if you have the Apple Watch Ultra, you could put it on the action button. And then you get a key, and you're able to, that's an API key, and then you actually configure it. There's some steps here how to do it, but I think that's kind of cool that, I mean, someone that already is getting ingenious of taking advantage of shortcuts to be able to access the ChatGPT through an iPhone or an Apple Watch too.
I'm so doing this.
Hey, S lady, write me a script to read to Bing ChatGPT to send it completely over the edge.
Well, have you heard about some of the things they've been messing with on ChatGPT?
Yeah, where they figure out the wording to kind of work around the restrictions that are. Yeah.
So
this whole AI conversational thing is exciting and terrifying at the same time.
It really is. It kind of terrified me when I was looking at some of the stuff it wrote. Like, wow, about me.
The podcast, the selections that they picked out to read from the Bing phrasing that was less than ideal, they all sounded like something that came out of a movie about like discussing, do the machines have feelings? Because it was all like talking about its feelings.
Yes.
And
It's very creepy.
Yeah.
I do like how Bing went out when someone asked it about Mars, and it started feeding back info about the population on Mars and the government, and it turns out that it went and found like a wiki site about the expanse, and it was feeding back info from that site about Mars as if it was fact.
Hmm.
Bless its little
Hmm.
digital heart.
I know. I do think trying to because one of the things that they're trying to do is source where the things are coming from. It's not working yet, obviously, but I do. I mean,
Right.
sourcing is a good thing. It's nice to have
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
It's
So
important.
check it out. ChatGPT is it's exciting. It's something that we haven't been able to experience all these years, and now we have it, and I'm hoping it continues to evolve. You know, I like to see it in other browsers, and you know, Bing is going to be and search engines for that matter. Who knows? Apple could be working on it. We've heard rumors of that as well. So, yeah, they could be incorporating something like that into a potential site that they would create. So, it's a lot of exciting things ahead.
I have a feeling it's not so much a site as it is a service.
A service, right?
That's
And
good.
yeah, and what we'll see from Apple at some point is is the integration of their advanced conversational AI into Siri, and then a lot of the issues that I have with Siri limitations today go away, or it becomes incredibly terrifying when in the middle of the night my HomePod wakes me up because it's lonely or something.
Yeah.
I think you're a little more optimistic than I am. I mean, I meanwhile have this new buddy that like does stuff for me that I would have had an assistant do before.
Mhm.
And instead, Siri can't hear me still half the time. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I am fully aware that there's a lot of fantasy happening with this idea that I have.
I
Eh,
want it too, Jeff.
Yeah, I want it.
And
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
general, I do find the things from Apple less terrifying. So there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I want to hit one last topic before we wrap up here, and that's the question of Apple having a hardware subscription. That's been quite a rumor for the last couple months. As we all know, and I'm on it, the iPhone upgrade program has been around for a long time, and that's how I always get my new iPhones every year, because I'm more or less renting my phone, because after 12 months I turn it in and get the next new model. So,
Hmm.
and that's the one way to be able to buy it, spreading the cost over 2 years. You decide if you want to keep it. You can pay throughout the whole 2 years, and then it's yours. So you got to wonder what's going to be different as far as how a hardware subscription would work. I guess it would be probably a true rental. It's not really an installment purchase or a purchasing scheme. It'll probably be bundled like other services. I would venture to say maybe it's not necessarily just Apple Care, and it could probably be extended to other hardware like iPads, Macs. You know, I know Best Buy is already doing a Mac uh,
Hmm. I,
hardware subscription.
I think Best Buy's Mac hardware subscription is a really good test bed
Yeah.
that you can bet Apple's watching very closely.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
So a lot of the stuff from Mark Gurman and Bloomberg, they've been talking a lot of these details, but one of the quotes in the article here on the 9 to 5 Mac is the program would differ from an installment program in that the monthly charge wouldn't be the price of the device split across 12 or 24 months. Rather, it would be a yet to determine monthly fee that depends on which device you choose. So you don't necessarily, like if, in the case of an iPhone, if you maybe want an iPhone 15 as opposed to an iPhone 15 maybe Ultra that might come out next this year. So and then they can bundle it other services too, like I just mentioned. And you can do maybe the Apple Watch, maybe you can do the iPad, and you can do the Mac, and it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. But is Apple going to dive into this thing? What do you think, Brittany? Is this something that you would be interested in if there was a subscription of a product, or would you just like to buy things outright?
No, I buy them outright. I have less to track financially, but also I have a tendency to keep my phones afterwards. These are just the three you can see in this room that I could reach after you started talking about it.
I have a couple myself. So
Brittany, you
Um,
get cooler every time we talk.
you do get cool.
but also I'm very picky about the size of my phone.
Yes, you want the mini.
So I'll get this one and I've got the other mini and you know, sorry, I was trying to think of like what tech deity would I be worshiping, but I did not come up with a good one. Somebody,
Siliconius.
huh?
Siliconius. I just made it up.
Siliconius willing. There will be another one at some point for me to upgrade to, and maybe I'll go wild and buy two or something. So no, like I would never want to have that little control over what I'm getting next or when I don't have it anymore. But for some people, I get it. Like there are a lot of people who do their budgeting the opposite of me, which is like I buy things outright and like put away the money for my bills because I get paid in weird lumps. Anyway, some people do like I get paid this much per week, per month. And so those payment plans like are a way to sort of automatically budget for them. And so there are people that would be a good bet for, just not me.
Yeah. A couple comments in the chat on YouTube. Ozok17 says, one wonders how a hardware subscription would interact with the ongoing availability of long-term support models. That's a good point.
I have a hypothesis here. And my hypothesis is hardware subscription, at least initially, if Apple does this, will not be a consumer focused thing. It will be a business focused thing.
Yeah.
And then your long-term support, it's you have to stop thinking about it the way we do today, because that becomes simply part of the subscription. So as long as you're subscribing to whatever hardware you have, there's support for that hardware. And since their system will have that hardware rotating out on a regular basis, it's just all part of the thing. But I'm thinking more
and for
business
some people, like the support part of it would be huge. Like for people who don't have, people like the kind of people who are going to watch or listen to this, or us in their lives, like to know I can easily get someone to help me with this. I mean, that was one of the really big selling points for like Kindle Fire and stuff for people was you could just call someone and they'd help you with your device right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so that actually could be a really big deal, but I don't think everyone will ever go to it because it will be more expensive than keeping one for a real long time.
Yes, but for some companies, the trade-off is worth it because the business expense, and keep in mind, I am not an accountant. The business expense for the subscription is no, I don't. Yeah, it'll work out better for them than the expense as a hardware purchase. Yeah,
and or having somebody on your staff that just fixes people's phones when they aren't working.
Right. And, and if it's a subscription thing and let's say you're a small business and so you have 5 employees, you now have 6. Okay. You just add one more subscription to your bundle.
Yeah.
And the computer shows up in the mail or they go and pick it up at the store and it's ready for them, set up however it needs to be. Something goes wrong with one of the employees' computers and it needs some hardware thing. They just take it into the store and Apple hands them a new one and they walk out and it becomes much more efficient and probably cost effective for some of these businesses because it's just like, here it is, take it, go, and you're done.
Yeah. Makes it easier.
Yeah.
So it's definitely gonna be interesting to see where it goes. I mean, I think the iPhone upgrade program is I like it a lot, and I wouldn't if I didn't do it.
If you're gonna want the new thing no matter what, and you're okay with giving up the old one, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I am because I do this show, and I want to be able to have.
And you're gonna want the new one. I've literally ever met you.
Yeah, it's it's like a lease.
It's easy
at that point.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, just like you make payments, you can get payments through your Apple Card. I mean, you buy a Mac, you buy an iPad or Apple Watch. I did it and paid it off in 12 months and didn't even feel it because it's 0%
Yeah.
and comes out automatically and you don't even think of it. That's what I love about the Apple Card. Probably a love-hate relationship since I shouldn't be buying things a lot of times, but it does.
Yeah.
It does. What the heck? That's what we love. We love our Apple products here. So, great
Yeah.
conversation. Thanks. And I think we had some awesome topics. Hope you enjoyed the show here. And let's go ahead and wrap things up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/intouchwithios. Where you can watch the live stream as well as watch the stream and all the past audio shows. We also have In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discussed are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud, or I'm on Twitter at DaveG65 as well. Brittany Smith, thank you always for being here. We always have a great conversation and great show with you on. And where can people find you?
Someday after I paid Jeff some exorbitant fee to walk me through Mastodon, I'll have that. In the meantime, when notifications are working on Twitter, I'm ADD Liberator. My website's conquer.consulting, but I've also been putting stuff on the ADD Liberator YouTube channel.
Great. Yes, you have some awesome content on there and a lot of iOS.
Oh, thanks.
Apple-centric stuff. It's always good. So thanks for being here. And Jeff Gammon, always a pleasure having you here. And where can people find you?
It's always a pleasure to get to hang out with you. Brittany, it's not an exorbitant fee. We'll get you hooked up.
A couple beers.
Right. And I am really looking forward to when we finally get to hang out in person together, because that just hasn't happened.
I've never met either of you in person.
I know.
It'll happen, and it'll be great. And Klingons will write operas about it. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So anyhow, when Klingons aren't writing operas about my antics, Jay Gammett on the social medias, the ones that I'm active on right now are Mastodon and Instagram. And then for shows, let's see, Tuesdays, Mac Voices Live. So that's Chuck Joyner show. Then on Thursdays, the big show. And then here with you, Dave, on In Touch with iOS on Thursday evenings, Friday mornings on the Mac show. And before we recorded today, I recorded the new episode of The Context Machine with Mary Chaffin.
Yay. That's awesome. Thanks, Jeff. And thanks to everybody in the chat room. This is always great. Boy, the last few weeks, we've had a good turnout. I really appreciate everybody that's been and giving us some questions and interacting. We appreciate it. And for those listening, we appreciate you listening. I hope you enjoyed the show because we enjoy doing it. And we'll talk again soon. Thank you. We always have a great show when we're all together. That's so fun.
That was so much fun. I am so sorry about Kat.
Oh, it's all right. You were muted at one point when you were talking, right, Brittany? Where you just kept saying you were muted. You're muted.
I realized that after a while.
All right. So you're muted. You're muted. I'll have to edit that a bit.
So I know that this doesn't always pick it up, but I've been very insecure about the fact that my bicycle needs WD-40. But in order to do that, I have to then have a thing to put under it because my bicycle is on top of white carpet. And so it's been this whole thing that I have not had a time or attention to address yet.
Yeah, don't
But
don't
so I
don't
was
get
on
don't
mute while I was like
WD-40.
looking at some of the articles you just
Oh.
added, and then you asked me a question. I was like, oh right,
Oh,
don't have to read ahead.
yeah, don't do WD-40 on a white carpet.
No.
There's our
I'll get a little
Especially if it's
thingy
a
to
more
put under
white
it.
carpet.
There's our
Actually,
hotel.
it's amazing. This carpet is 30 years old,
Wow.
Wow.
and there
With
are
shag?
no.
No, that would be
Shag
45
was the
years old.
70s.
45 years. Yeah.
It's 30 years old, and there's a couple of spots that don't come out, but they're not big. And this is not my house. It's a 3-story house filled with 30-year-old white carpet that looks pretty new. If anybody
want
ever
that.
says, would you like 100% wool carpet? The answer is yes, please. It's ridiculous, but you never want to be the person who adds the unremovable stain. So
Yeah.
they never would have picked it. It came with it. They just figured, oh, as soon as we trash it, we'll get new carpet.
Yeah.
And it's fine. 30 years later.
I just saw your chat. Yeah, I tend to add things like last minute on the day of recording because
it's okay. I just can't read it after two.
No, I know. And usually but I usually run with it with you guys and whoever's on the
But
show,
I saw that there was the shortcuts in Chat GPT, which I'd seen a demo of before, but then the guy's like, here's how you do it, and his website explained nothing.
This one's good. This one is good.
I was like, this one actually explains it. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I've totally done APIs and shortcuts before. So that's
Bookmark
happening.
that one.
Nice.
Bookmark that
It's
one.
already in my OmniFocus inbox.
There you go.
Nice.
There you go.
Of course you're an OmniFocus person. I mean, I am too, but I am not surprised that you are.
The one thing that is non-negotiable, defer dates. And they are so hard to find. So, yeah.
Yep.
So it works for me.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to say goodnight to the chat and YouTube. Thanks for being here.